Hello, everyone. I'm Ryan Johnson, Luverne High School Principal for Luverne Public Schools. I hope everyone's doing well and that your summer has been a time for rest and relaxation and hopefully safety and health for everyone. As we think about this year coming up, the 2020-2021 school year, we have a lot of challenges to be faced and a lot of decisions to be made. I know there's a lot of questions that are kind of out there, and so one of the things that we wanted to do as administration was just to be able to kind of give you a little bit of some guidance and hopefully some clarity on what's kind of going on and how we're plan on addressing the school year and help you as parents to be able to make the best decisions possible. So I'm going to share my screen here, the little PowerPoint here to kind of talk through some of the scenarios that we have here. So when we think about this year coming up, we definitely want to think about the fact that we are working within our mission and purpose and trying to provide the best education possible for our students. That is our desire, and that we are going to be working very diligently to make sure that all of our students have the best education possible that we can possibly give them with the resources that we have and the time. Prioritizing also the health and the safety of the students, staff, and the community. Not only is it the students, but we also have staff to also be concerned about, and so there's a lot of moving pieces that we need to be mindful of as we kind of navigate these tough times. Planning within the guidelines given from the state, and I'll be kind of talking what some of those guidelines are. We will be emphasizing the need for routine and structure for the students, so we understand wholeheartedly that the routine and the structure is very, very vital for our students, and we want to provide that routine and structure for them as best as we possibly can, because we feel that that is going to be the greatest thing that will allow them to be able to succeed and keep moving forward in a positive way. Recognizing the importance of public education for all students and also remaining flexible when considering local COVID-19 data. And again, I will kind of go through that and look at what that data is and how we'll be kind of navigating through that as best as we can determine right now. And also just communication and communicating our plans in a timely and transparent manner. We want to do as best as job as we possibly can, clarify certain issues kind of coming up. Language is also another thing that we will also be kind of talking about here as well, which is what certain terms and phrases kind of mean here. So as far as determining a learning model, you've probably heard this before, but there's the in-person learning, there's a hybrid, and then there's the distance learning. Obviously, the distance learning is what we ended last year with for the last couple of months there. And that is basically staying at home and students working from home. Hybrid model is going to be a little bit of a 50-50 split that I'll kind of talk about. Then the in-person is the traditional model that we are used to. All students coming, all teachers here, and learning in the manner that we are accustomed to. One of the things that we'll be looking at as we determine which of these models we're going to be kind of moving into, and it could be any one of these three models particularly at any point in time, but we'll be kind of shifting potentially from one model to the next as we kind of go through. But we will be relying quite a bit on step one, which is the Department of Health, Minnesota Department of Health, to use the data from the counties to best determine the learning model that we will be in at that present time, or at least in the near future to come. So some of you have heard that from last week. Governor Walz got on and talked about what the county index numbers are, and I'll share that information here with you in a minute. But that will be kind of a baseline to kind of start learning of what we feel is the safest measure of the learning model for the students. We'll be working with the Minnesota Department of Education as well to be consulting with them and how that works out. Step three, looking at public schools, we'll be forming what's called an incident command team that you read right there. We'll evaluate the ability to implement required and recommended health best practices. So this command team will be looking at information from there, being able to kind of make a recommendation, potential determination of the model that we need to be in. That will then go to the consultation with the public health as well as MDE to determine that model and specifically look at, is this the right model for us or not? Again, based upon what the COVID numbers are within our county. And then finally, public schools and MDH will monitor the community and school level impact of COVID on a regular basis. So we are looking at this incident command team meeting on a regular basis to be able to again, make determinations of what is best and safest for our staff, student, and community. So based upon that, so if the numbers are low, so as you can kind of see, these are 14-day case numbers here. If the numbers are low, 0 to 9 within those 14 days, we are looking at the in-person learning model. In-person, again, is traditional. We're here in school and operating in a normal kind of fashion. You'll notice if we jump to the next level, there's 5 levels total, but if we jump to the next level, the elementary stays in the in-person model, while the secondary moves into a hybrid learning model. Again, that's going to be a reduced number of students at that point in time. As you can kind of go through the 5 different levels, you can finally get to the top level here, which is going to be the distance learning. So if COVID cases are extremely high, again, in this case, the MDH has determined 50 or above within the community. It is an index number, though, so it isn't necessarily specifically 50. It kind of depends upon what the community or the county populations are. But if that is higher than 50, distance learning will be happening for all students. So as you can kind of see, we might be kind of jumping from one to the next. So if we take a look, first bullet point right here just talks about the data from the MDE as a starting point to determine the model. So a 14-day case per 10,000 people, which Rock County is right at about 10,000 people. You compare that to Hennepin County and the cities, obviously they're going to be significantly more. So there's a equation that they put this number into of the number of positive cases, and then we make the determination from that. The first set of numbers that we were given, which was last week, which was a 14-day period within July, was at 18.06. So if you go back here, if you look at this, the 14-day cases, that would fall within this second level. This would be level 1, this is level 2. So if that was the case, then we would be in person for elementary and we would be hybrid for the secondary schools. Okay. Now, just today, MDH released the newest numbers, and unfortunately, our numbers did not go up, or sorry, down, they went up. They went up to 28.68. So in that particular case, if you look at that, that would jump us into the third level where all students, elementary and secondary, would be in the hybrid learning model. Now, as I said, the second bullet point here is the incident command team. We are composing this of school personnel, local health officials, county officials, students, and parents. They will analyze the data as it specifically relates to our school and community. So meaning this, if we know that the outbreak is somewhere else or is contained within a business, or if there's some reason to believe otherwise, those numbers, this is the starting point for us to go from, but we can also make some determination. There's also some freedom within this model for us to be able to say, you know what, we want to go back. We feel it's safe enough for staff and students to be able to go back into person, and we feel that we have enough justification to be able to do that. So this incident command team, again, we'll look at what those numbers are, where those numbers are at, who it is affected, and then from there be able to make the best determination, again, for our staff, for our students here in Luverne. Third bullet point, we'll evaluate the ability to implement it. So it's just basically looking at, can we implement the programming that we're looking at based upon what the COVID numbers are? If it is affecting a lot of our current students, obviously that would have a direct impact on our implementation and our programming, where again, that's going to make some determination on which model we're going to be in. Now, we have not made an initial selection of when we start September 8th of what that model is going to be. We don't know if it's going to be in-person, hybrid, or distant at this point in time, but we will be making a determination no later than August 24th. At that point, we will have information out, for sure at that point, we'll have information out for parents to be able to know this is the way we are going to be starting come September 8th. Now, change in the learning model. Again, we're looking at the safety of the school, staff, and students. We're going to respect the impact a shift in the learning model will have on the community, and requires, and we know that any kind of change in the model will require a significant amount of coordination and communication. So again, there are a lot of factors moving into, if we are in person, we decide we need to move to hybrid. What are those factors? We're going to look at what those numbers are, but we're also going to look at how quickly we've shifted from one to another. We will not be going, as best as we can tell, we do not foresee ourselves going every week. We're going to shift from a hybrid to a distant to an in-person, back and forth, yo-yoing back and forth on a week-to-week basis. So we want to make it a little bit more fluid and seamless kind of as we kind of go. But again, we do have to kind of look at what the data and what those numbers are. There is also a trump card that's out there, which is that the Minnesota Department of Education can also make determinations of our school and which model they need to go into, should they feel the need of doing that. Safety protocols. These are things that we want to put in place when students get here, because obviously it is our desire for us to be in person. So that is kind of the first step, is that we, as much as we can, we feel that the best and most efficient way to educate our kids is in person. But again, we need to look at what those safety numbers are to be able to see what is safe for our students, and then make that determination and go from there. So, but when they are here, we know this. We know that symptoms are one of the greatest screeners, even more so than temperature. So daily symptom screening, and this is going to be on you as parents, and myself as a parent too, that we are taking the responsibility of that. If we are looking at what those symptoms are, and again, you can go online, you can see what all the symptoms are and how it compares to the flu and common colds and things like that. If you notice those symptoms, please have your students remain home. If you see what those symptoms are, we want that to be the first and foremost line of defense. First line of defense is looking at what those symptoms are. We will be more deliberately screening that could take place if cases exist within the classrooms. And so if we feel we need to jump up, we can also look at what those cases are. And again, there might be a little bit more deliberateness of screening within the classrooms. Students or staff with symptoms at school report to the nurse's isolation room. So if they are feeling what some of those symptoms are, we are going to have them report to the nurse's office. We do have a separate isolation room that we can also house students in, should they need to wait for their parents to pick them up, or somehow be able to get some transportation home. Communication about confirmed cases among students and staff. We will do our best to be able to do that. The hard part is that we are oftentimes relying upon parents and students to inform us of if they are tested positive for COVID. It might be, again, within their family as well. So, I think we would be looking at you as parents partnering with us and giving us that form of communication, maybe in particular with our nurse, Mr. Paquette, as well, that communication kind of goes on so that we know. And then from there, we can be able to communicate that information out. So also communication letters for general information and close contact. So we will do our best to do some screening of some stuff. So one of the things that we'll be looking at is close contact. So if we feel that someone is in close contact, it is defined as someone that we're within 6 feet for more than 15 minutes while not wearing a mask. Okay, so when we start to go and screen and trace this, those are the questions that we're going to be kind of asking students: is how close were you? Were you wearing a mask? How much time did you spend with this particular person? Close contact is typically limited to contact that individuals have indoors while not socially distanced and not wearing a mask. Outdoors is usually considered to be much more safe, and that. So it is, again, looking at within a school building, within a bus, within a car drive, and such. So the school nurse will conduct the contact tracing and family follow-up of any positive cases. Okay, so Mr. Paquette is going to be that person that will do the contact tracing of such. MDH has indicated that they are supposed to be doing that, but as we have found out, they have not been able to efficiently do that. So we will do our best to do the contact tracing with that. And again, what we'll be looking for is within 6 feet for more than 15 minutes and while not wearing a mask. Okay. We will also be providing considerations for options for individuals to be quarantined as well. So if we feel that there's a need for an individual to be quarantined, we will make that, that recommendation to the family and to the student. So while students are here, social distancing is going to be when possible. We're going to try to, as much as we can, discourage large group kind of scenarios. Looking at having teachers out in the hallway to be able to monitor and again what some of those kind of groupings are and be able to mitigate the transmission of that. There is a mask mandate. I know this is a lot of controversy of individuals that have different feelings on this. At this point in time, though, it is mandated here in the state of Minnesota. So when when students do come here to school, they will be expected to be wearing a mask. And that's just the way it is right now at this point in time. So limit student activity in shared and communal spaces. As I said, try to keep them separated out. Teachers can be deliberate about personal distancing. So again, they will be out and monitoring some of that. Visitors, as parents, I know that there maybe was a little more freedom in the past. Unfortunately, those freedoms are going to be a little more restricted at this point in time. We'll be looking at appointment only. Might be an IEP 504 meeting that you might be kind of coming to, but it isn't going to be, unfortunately, just kind of popping in and out. Travel for school-related staff development will also be restricted. Travel for students as well. We'll be looking at how do we limit that for field trips, even activities. We're kind of discussing a lot of those different types of scenarios too here. So, and then facility cleaning protocols have been established, in particular some of the high traffic areas, the bathrooms, lounges, things like that. Some of the learning commons areas rather will be taking place. Teachers will also have within their classrooms, they will have some cleaning supplies that they will be utilizing on a daily basis to ensure some of those high traffic areas are cleaned off. Again, from what we do know of this virus is that it is much more airborne and aerosol based versus surface contracted. So we're using that, that scientific knowledge that we know to be able to make these mitigation efforts here. So going back to the models of learning, because again, I know there's some questions and just trying to clarify what some of the language is right there. If you are a student, K-12 Luverne public student, at this point in time in the summer, you have two options for you to choose. Do you want Luverne provided instruction or do you want virtual instruction? Okay, now Luverne provided instruction could face three different forms of learning: in-person, hybrid, and distance learning that I just got done kind of talking through. Again, for the most part, we do desire for the personal and in-person learning, but obviously we do have to make determinations, again, based upon what those numbers are and be able to adjust accordingly. Should a parent feel the need of going into virtual instruction, then we are looking at what's called a third-party vendor of Edmentum to be able to provide that virtual instruction. You will be learning from home. You will not be learning from here, even though we do have a connection with them, and all that information we will be provided with. We pay for the instruction that also takes place in that virtual manner. So let's take a look here first and foremost at the in-person learning. All students attend the school each day is based on a limited number of cases over the past 2 weeks. Again, so if the numbers are small, we will be able to stay in person. The instructional day is going to be from 8 to 3 for all schools. That's different from last year. Last year we were 8 to 3:30. We had actually passed in the spring the idea of going from 8 to 3:15 at that time, but based upon some information that we have with dealing with the COVID crisis here, we feel the need of even shortening it even a little bit further from 8 to 3 o'clock. It gives our teachers a little more time, duty time, to be able to be managing, again, some of the social distancing that's going on. Student interaction is limited in common areas and classrooms. All students require to wear a face mask or covering. Parents and individual employees are responsible for the daily screenings of their child and themselves. Transportation is going to be limited to 50%. And so parents, we do encourage you to provide transportation for your students if at all possible. And if you are able to do that, that would just be a huge help for us. And then protocols will be in place as far as reporting cases and the contact tracing. As I said, Mr. Paquette, our nurse, is going to be kind of the front runner with that. looking at where did those things, or who was in contact with who, and how that affects students and our overall school community here. Okay, now let's shift to, if we're in person, all of a sudden we feel the need, we need to shift to hybrid. What does hybrid look like? This is where students would attend every other day. So basically we're going to take our whole student body, we're going to divide them into red and into white. And they participate in a distance learning model on the days when they are not in person. So the day that they are not here is not just a free day. They will still be expected to be logging in and doing some distance learning at home while they're there. So the red, for instance, might be on a Monday and a Wednesday. The white might be on a Tuesday and a Thursday. And then Fridays are every other. So it might be a red Friday or it might be a white Friday. And we'll get that information out to you each week, and making sure that families, and students, and parents know what Friday that is. Students are assigned to days based on the family names. Families are kept together. They're based on a number of cases over the 14 days. Again, so if the threshold hits to a certain number where we need to go into the hybrid model, then we would do that. The instructional day would be from 8 to 1:30. If you remember, that was the early out days that we've had. The reason we are doing this is for teachers, as they are teaching those students that are in person, they're also going to have to take some time to be able to connect with their students that are doing distance learning on those days as well. So that affords them that time to be able to do that. So students would be released if they're in the hybrid model at 1:30 on those days. Districts is responsible for providing computers for families in need. Increased emphasis and strict enforcement of social distancing during the times that they're here at school would occur for an assigned amount of time. So we don't want to flip-flop back and forth week after week after week. We would say, for instance, what we foresee is that a minimum you would go into hybrid for 2 weeks, but maybe it's only 2 weeks, and then we would adjust back. But again, we don't want to be jumping back and forth between the models. We want it to be a little bit more of a slow process, kind of going there with a little bit of an emphasis of a little quicker getting back to in-person if we can, and if we deem that to be safe. Transportation limited to 50%. And again, parents are encouraged to transport. And the district is responsible for daycare for essential workers on those days that are distance learning. All right, distance learning then. All students would participate in distance learning from home based on increasing number of cases over the past 14 days. Students and families are encouraged to limit contact with other students outside of the school. So meaning remain home, stay home, isolate yourselves so that we can get those numbers back down. Students required to log in at specific times in order to access content from classroom teachers. That's probably going to be the greatest change with our distance learning from last year to this year. Last year, we did not maybe have as much of a specific time. There's going to be a little more of an expectation that you will be logging in at a specific time to learn from that specific classroom teacher. We'll be utilizing Zoom, maybe Google Hangout or Meet for that. Daily attendance will be taken. Learning platforms will be a continuation of the platforms used during in-person learning. So Google Classroom is the one that we have used here in the middle school, high school in particular. In the elementary, they've also used Google Classroom. There's also Seesaw that's down there too. Students will be right away from the get-go. They will be into their Google Classrooms. So they have their Google accounts. Teachers will be making their classrooms up, and students will be joining those right away, no matter what model we are in to start school. District is responsible for providing technology for the families in need, so we will be in contact with those families that need that. We are still looking at grab-and-go breakfast and lunch to be provided for families, and then also the district is responsible for daycare for essential workers during that distance learning time. So that gets us to the virtual instruction. Parents and families have the option of choosing the virtual learning for students. Options for those with great concern for their children to return to school in any format. So if you do have concerns about coming back, and this seems like the best option for you, this is an option that you can choose. One of the things that we are looking, the third bullet here says you must commit to this format for the entire semester. It's going to be hard because we have to make payments on those students to Edmentum. Edmentum, as you can see here, is the online provider. So because of that, we do want students to commit for a full semester. So either you're in or you're out for that semester. Come semester break, if you wish to change, you can do that at that point in time. Edmentum is the online provider. For K-5, it's called Calvert Learning Academy. For 6-12, it is Ed Options Learning Academy. Students would remain enrolled in our school system, so we would provide that. And again, that is our dollars paying for the Edmentum cost. Edmentum does communicate with office personnel on our student progress. So it's not just simply you guys are off on your own and then that's it. They will be contacting us and letting us know if there are concerns that could be addressed, maybe social emotional concerns, things like that, that we can possibly help to meet. We will also be getting those records too. So we will maintain what those records and the progress of those students are that will be added to their file and or potentially even to their transcripts. In particular, the high school courses, they will be transferred to the Luverne transcripts and accumulate towards a Luverne high school diploma. So all those courses that are taken through Edmentum, we will be able to take those and transfer those in, and then again, you are still accumulating credit towards the Luverne high school diploma. So a timeline. August 6th, Friday, looking at getting out the information for the learning plan, also for a family survey to be sent out. That family survey will have some of the information for families to be able to put in there, the indication of if they are planning on going through the Luverne instruction or through the virtual instruction. On the 17th, student schedules will be made available to parents and to students as well on their Infinite Campus account. So if you do not have your account access, you will need to contact the high school office, and we will help to get that reestablished for you. But you will be needing to get that information to be able to view the schedules. August 24th, again, is the latest possible date for determining the model for the start of this year. So if we can make that earlier, we will do that. But again, we will be looking at what the incident command, with the incident command team to be able to hopefully make what the best determination is for that. August 31st, staffing service begins, and then September 8th is the first day of school. So I know there's plenty more questions along the way. We'll try to keep you guys updated as best as we can. There's a lot of things that we're still trying to work through as well and navigate, and we feel this is the best possible scenario that we can come up with given the information that we have. And again, we are committed to teaching and instructing your students in the best possible way that we can and with the amount of resources that we have. So thank you and have a great day.